Hello, it's Monday, and a couple days ago, Mojang released a new snapshot for the Minecraft 1.16 Nether update, which is going to have lots of things for the Nether, and, well, yeah, that's about it. It's the Nether update to spice up the Nether because it's pretty boring before, and not gonna lie, it looks pretty insane already, but with the latest snapshot, they introduced two new blocks, or should I say they reintroduced a new block and a new block. This is the Crying Obsidian block. This was actually in the game absolutely ages ago, around 8 years ago, and it was removed because its functionality, didn't really work anymore. The point of the Crying Obsidian was to set your spawn point, but once they gave that functionality to the bed, it was basically useless, so they removed this block from the game. Today, we're not going to be talking about the Crying Obsidian. It does look cool, and it is one of my favorite blocks just because of, the lore of it, but today we're going to be talking about the target block, because this has a lot more uses than you might think. A target block was a block that was announced to be in the game way back in 1.14, but it never really came out until now, and here we have the target block. Now, the target block is pretty simple. We've known about the target block and what it's going to do for a while now, and yeah, here it is. It's actually here now. Basically, how the target block works is that the closer you hit towards the middle of the target block, the longer the redstone signal is going to be, or the stronger the redstone signal is going to be. For example, let's say I hit the very edge of the target block. Only this redstone lamp is going to activate. In fact, that redstone lamp's not even going to activate because I hit it so far off from the middle. If I hit it a little bit closer, you can see it will activate this lamp here, but it won't activate those far too. If I hit a little bit closer to the middle, it will activate... I didn't get quite close enough. It'll activate all of them. So I hit it around here, it activates 2 of the, redstone lamps. And if I hit it right towards the middle, if I can get a bullseye, it's very tricky. You can see all 3 light up. So this is basically how the target block works, and it seems pretty simple, and it seems like that's cool. That's a cool thing that, someone probably needs. But what you don't know is that this is actually a very useful block. So as you can see here, I have a variety of items in my hotbar, and essentially all of these work against the target block. First of all, we have the snowball. As you can see, I shoot the snowball and it'll activate the lamp, because snowballs, they work. Next, we got the bow. This is probably the most obvious one. It's what came to mind as soon as you saw this block. It's the bow, and it'll work. It'll activate the lamp. Next, we got the crossbow, which obviously will work as well. It shoots arrows. It's like a bow. We got eggs, which do work. So yeah, it's not that surprising. Tridents also work, which is a little bit more surprising, but it is, it's kind of obvious. The one that no one really expected is that potions work against the target block, and this can be any potion. It doesn't have to be a splash water bottle. It can be any potion. For example, if I grab like a healing potion, you can see that this will actually work against the target block. Yeah, there we go. I hit too far out, so it didn't activate the lamp, but it does work, just like that. And even a lingering potion will work against the target block. That wasn't a very good demonstration, but yes, lingering potions will also work against the redstone target block and activate the redstone lamp. Okay, that's cool and all, but let's get into the actual redstone of the target block. First off, the target block is much like a redstone block, because when you activate it, it doesn't just activate the opposite side that you hit it from. No, it'll actually activate every single block around it. That spawned a chicken, but as you can see, it will activate every single block around it, not just the one on this side. It will do all of them. It is just like a redstone block when you hit it. The only difference being is that the redstone signal strength will change depending on how close to the middle that you hit it. Another thing that you'll see here is that when I hit the target, it'll activate the redstone signal for a certain amount of time. Now, this amount of time is different depending on, like, one thing. That one thing being is if you're using a snowball, egg, or a potion. Because for those 3 things, the target block will give you a 1-second pulse, I believe. But with any of the other ones, like the actual weapons, will be a bit longer. That being said, it might not be how you thought it would work. You might think that, oh, if you shoot the arrow, the redstone signal will stay on until you remove the arrow. That is not the case. It will give a short signal, which is quite useful, actually. Now, currently, there is a bug, or possibly a feature, where if you activate the target block and then push it really fast, it'll actually keep the signal strength that you gave it forever. So as you can see, this redstone line is not going away. It is staying there because what I did is I shot it, and then I quickly pushed it away. And that will, for some reason, allow this target block to keep its signal strength. So you can kind of use it exactly like a redstone block that has a certain redstone signal of whatever you want it to be. So that's very strange and actually pretty annoying when it comes to making things like that. One more thing I should mention is that these are not all of the projectiles that will actually activate the target block. There are a few more. Obviously there's the spectral arrow, and the other ones are things that the player cannot shoot or throw. For example, llama spit, you have to have a llama to do that. You can't use a player, but those kind of things do also work. They're not very practical, but I guess I have to throw that out there. Okay, so we understand exactly how the target block works now, but why is this so useful? Well, first of all, the target block is very sensitive, and this is a good thing and a bad thing. As you can see here, this will activate one redstone signal, but just hitting it slightly closer will activate it one more redstone signal. In fact, because snowballs have a random trajectory, as you can see when I throw the snowball, it's not a perfect straight line, right? Because of that, if I just spam snowballs in the same spot, it'll actually start giving me different signals. You can see the signal strength is changing constantly because of this very slight randomness in the snowball. So this target block is very sensitive. And that's a good thing and bad thing because, well, one, it can hold up to 16 different signals. The first signal being that there is no signal, and then there's a 15 on top of that it can actually give you. So if you hit right in the bullseye, right in the middle, it'll give you a 15 signal strength. And then for like every, I don't actually think it's for every pixel. I think it's even smaller than that. But yes, the further out you go, the smaller the redstone signal, and it's very sensitive. So that's very useful because the redstone target can have 16 different outputs. The first output being that there is no output, and that is a massive upgrade from what we previously used, which was the cauldron. You see, the cauldron has different outputs depending on how much water is actually in the cauldron. Let's grab some leather armor. Let's just give it some, let's say, red dye. And then that's not red dye, that's redstone. Well, let's just quickly craft this leather helmet and remove some water. And what you'll see is that the redstone signal goes down. And that's, this is a widely used thing because the cauldron can hold 4 different outputs in the same block, where the redstone target can actually hold 16. That's pretty insane. That's a massive upgrade, and that's really useful. There are countless uses for the target block and this property of being able to hold so many different outputs, but one of them, which I've gone absolutely bizarre on, is this. It's a piano. The concept is simple. Depending on where you hit the target, there will be a different note. Let's grab the snowball. You can see I have translated those redstone signal strengths to where instead of the closer, the stronger the redstone strength, I made it the closer, the higher the note. That's essentially what I've done. This looks very complicated, but it really isn't, as long as you know how comparators and repeaters work. If you don't, so let's take a quick look on how this redstone works. So first of all, we have a target like this, and we have a bunch of signals coming out of it. From these signals, we have these sort of, they almost look like comparator clocks. They're even on subtract mode. If you don't know what a comparator clock looks like, it looks like this. And essentially, when you power this bottom bit, it will give you this repeating output. Now, this looks pretty similar, but it is not the same. Here's what this does. Now, redstone comparators are a little bit complicated, so I'm not going to talk about them right now, but what I will say is that if the signal strength is the same, is 1 away from where this comparator is, it'll give you a redstone signal on this side of 1. However, if this signal strength is larger, it'll give you a redstone signal of 2. For example, let's say I hit right at the, corner, right? So that'll only activate this redstone dust, which in return will only activate this redstone dust. But let's say I go a little bit closer. Now you can see, if I can actually hit it, you can see that now instead of giving me one redstone signal here, it'll give me two, as you can see. And I can even get as close to being one away, just like that, and it will still work. So essentially what this is doing is it is separating to see, okay, at which point of this redstone line is the highest that's activated. And then it'll differentiate that and turn that into notes. So how does it detect that signal? Well, that's actually pretty simple. As you can see right here, I'm making this little contraption, and what this contraption will do is it'll be able to tell if this signal strength is 1 on here, or if it's 2. So essentially, if the signal strength is 1, it will activate this repeater, and that'll just go right through here. It won't do anything. But if the signal strength is 2, it'll activate this repeater, and then this repeater, which will then lock this repeater before it even gets a signal. And so, essentially what I've done here is that if the signal from this target block is the same signal that's, touching the comparator, it will activate the redstone line. If it's more or less, it will not activate this redstone line. So, if I hit right out the edge here, as you can see, it gives me an output. I'm hitting the edge again, it's giving me an output. But if I hit anywhere closer, it will not give me an output. So, what have I done over here? What I've done is I've made a ton of these. I've even put them down here so that they don't touch, and I've created a bunch of these. Essentially, the closer you hit to the target block, the more redstone signal comes out. And then I have all of these modules, which is the exact same as down there. And I have all of these modules to basically detect, okay, is the furthest redstone signal the signal that's touching the comparator? So basically what's doing is it's detecting what the signal strength is from the target, and then turning that into separate outputs. And if you have no idea what I just said, then basically all of this is making it to where I hit a different part of the target, it plays a different note. Now this is cool and all, but this is not nearly as epic as I want it to be, okay? Like, come on. What are these note block sounds? 8-bit sounds? Come on, these are terrible. And plus, I can't even play anything faster than quarter notes. This is the fastest I can play. That's slow. And so, we fly across my very terrible and very not organized testing world to get to here. The working Minecraft organ. Now, as you can see, this is massive. It's twice the size as the one we just saw. And as you can see, there's also these little modules down here. Yeah. It seems very complicated, and kind of is, but if you've been watching the whole video, it will not be that difficult to understand. So here you can recognize that this is the same kind of system that we used. It's actually the same system that we used for the other piano, right? However, this time, all it's doing is it's feeding into these modules instead. And we'll get into what these modules are. But I need to address that there are two targets. This is so that you can play a faster rhythm. On the other piano with only one target, you can only play quarter notes. With this, you can play eighth notes. And not only can you play eighth notes, you can play 16th notes, technically. Because what you can do is you can hit these two targets at 16th notes, but then it'll take an entire eighth note for it to reset. Because that's how the redstone targets thing works. Now, I know I've been building up suspense, so let's already go and play this organ and see what it sounds like. So yeah, it sounds kind of like an organ, and the reason why is, well, because of these modules. Now, these modules are actually a lot more complicated than you might think they are. Let's just quickly run down what this is. Now, I've already made a video on this contraption. You can find it. It's actually the video right before this video made, 5 months ago. Just don't worry about it. I'm a consistent YouTuber, okay? Just like and subscribe. If you saw my video, you will recognize this. Now, what I've done here is I've rotated this a few times until I got this design, and that is the design I'm using over there. Now, the reason I use this design is because it's one of the only, you know, designs where the note block can actually be played. It's also vertical, so it makes it compact. It's not tileable exactly because the note blocks will activate each other, but it is slim and, you know, compact. Let's go ahead and activate this. You will recognize this machine if you've seen my video, but it basically just spams the note block so fast it almost sounds like it's being held. That's literally all there is to it. So basically what I've done from here is I have made the organ sound, which is made exactly like this. So first you grab 4 note blocks, that can be any 4 note blocks, and then you're going to need, okay, this is kind of loud, you're going to need some cacti, some pumpkin, some clay, and then just any block that isn't one of the note changing or sound changing note blocks. So you're going to put 1 pumpkin down, 1 ice down, 1 clay down, and 1 anything down. And you hear that? It sounds like an organ. Now the reason that it sounds like an organ actually kind of makes sense. So the reason why is because how an organ works is that it basically plays a bunch of instruments at the same time, or it mimics a bunch of instruments at the same time, which gives you that organ sound. And yeah, that's exactly what I've done, is I've mixed 4 instruments together to create an organ sound. So here we have it, the working organ, but we're not quite done. If you actually want to, you know, play this in your survival world, you're gonna have to know a few things. And that is basically which guitar pick to use. Now that might sound weird, but it actually is very important. You see, the thing is, if you want to play your organ, your target organ in 1.16, you're gonna have to know which thing to shoot at the target, because different things have different benefits. For example, snowballs, which I personally use, they're very fast, right? They're very fast, and you need that speed to hold down notes. But they have a randomness aspect to it. As you can see, when I throw these snowballs straight into the air, they don't come back down, straight down onto me. They kind of spread out. That's because snowballs are actually a bit randomized, and so sometimes you won't get the note that you want, because it'll hit slightly to the right, slightly to the left, slightly to the top, slightly to the bottom. Something along those lines, and it'll just give you the wrong note. So you basically have to be a little bit lucky, but it is really fast, and so that's kind of useful. The next thing is basically a downgrade of the snowball, the egg. It's the exact same trajectory, meaning that it throws the exact same, except it spawns chickens, which gets in your way. I don't know why you would ever use this. I'm not even going to use it. I'm just going to throw it. See ya. The next is the Trident. The Trident is not a very fast weapon. It's pretty bad projectile, to be honest. I just did that. But it does have a benefit to the target. That is that it is a weapon item, and it'll actually hold down the target's signal for a lot longer than a snowball or egg would. So as you can hear this, that was pretty long, whereas the snowball, it's very different, as you can tell, and you're basically just gonna hold down notes. So it's good for like whole notes, like so it's pretty good for that, but you can't really play fast rhythms with it. That was my incredible attempt at trying to play a fast rhythm. Now what you can do is you can give yourself a loyalty, or, you know, just enchant your Trident with loyalty. And what this will do is that it will basically still give you that long signal, but you get your Trident back. So it's pretty good if you're in survival, you know. And not to mention, the Trident does not have any randomness to its trajectory. It's exactly how you expect it to go. Like, every time you throw it, you will know exactly where it goes, because it never randomly changes. It will be the same every time. Next is the bow. This is probably the most standard one. It has, you know, it has basically an infinite amount of ammo if you give it infinity, or you can, you know, put a bunch of arrows in your inventory, so you don't have to worry about running out like you do the snowball. But it is very advanced. Depending on how fast you shoot it, there will be a different trajectory. So there is a slight randomness aspect, but it doesn't really matter because it's so slight. But on top of that, the bow is just really tricky to play. Next up, we got the Crossbow, which does not have infinity, so that's a downside, but it's very slow. There isn't much of a use to it. Yeah, it's actually so slow that it'll actually take up enough time to where the note will stop before you can play another one. So that's not that great. Now, of course, you can enchant your crossbow with quick charge, and that will change that as long as you use the different targets. But even then, it's not that fast, and it's not that great. The one thing you can do is enchant your crossbow with multi-shot. This will allow you to play 2 notes at once, which sounds really cool. And that was actually more than 2 notes because I actually hit several parts of the same target. That doesn't always work. It depends on like which note was higher and stuff, which note you hit first. And yeah, you can actually play multiple notes at once, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty good, but it is a very slow thing to shoot the target with. Now, potions are basically the best for targets. They have very similar trajectories every time you throw them. There's barely any randomness to it. I think it's the same randomness as an arrow, or it's the same randomness as a experience bottle. It's very slight, but it does have a really weird trajectory. It kind of like, falls really fast, so it's hard to hit anything accurately. And yeah, other than that, it's pretty good. It's a fast item to throw, just like the snowball, and it also has no trajectory randomness. It does, just very little. Now, obviously, the downside to this is that they're not stackable. That's pretty obvious. You can't stack them, so you're gonna run out really fast. So maybe only use this if you have a certain part in your music that needs to be really accurate really fast. So here you have it. This is the working Minecraft organ. It took a long time to make, so if you guys will like and subscribe. I don't post content that often, I really don't. The last time I uploaded was like 5 months ago, and that might be under exaggerated, but that just means that if I do post a video, you'll know that it's a good one. So, and of course, if you guys have any suggestions or questions, leave them in the comment below, and I will take a look at them. It's hard not to when I get spammed by notifications. But this has been Tzemmiecat with your first video in several months. But summer is around the corner. Not really around the corner, about 2 months. But yeah, subscribe, like, and keep those notifications on, and look out for my next video, because if I ever do upload, I can guarantee you there's a reason for it. So, see ya. Let's go! I played Megalovania! Now they ask, why are your testing worlds so messy? Oh, do slash game rule mob spawning false. Oh, do slash daylight cycle false. No, okay, listen, this is why I do it, okay? Look at how great this is. Look at this. This kind of thing wouldn't be made. Come on, you can't complain with the mega wave machine. This is why my test worlds are messy. Why wouldn't I leave this in?